Are you ready to learn the pros and cons of using AI? Well, we all know AI has been confusing and confounding and helping many people streamline not only their social media, but many facets of their business. On today's episode, I am going to be sharing with you an amazing guest speaker. His name is Joseph Federico. He owns J. Federico Marketing as well as Anchors to Dust Publishing. He founded that in 2014. With his professional staff, they proficiently cover organic social media and content creation, namely for small business owners, celebrities, insurance brokers, and real estate agents. And they offer public relation management systems. Look, PR is very important, guys. If you don't have that in your business, you need to talk to Joseph. And his company also offers individualized coaching, professional business development, and copywriting services. So without further ado, please welcome to the stage Joseph Federico. Hello, my friend. How's
Hi,
it going?
Maggie. Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, Joseph. Look, other than your amazing professional bio, can you share a little bit about who you are? Just give us a little 1 to 2 minutes about who Coach Joseph is.
Yeah. So, Coach Joseph, otherwise known as the marketing maven, I'm still evolving, as we do as marketers, our own personas as thought leaders is a person who really cares about growing businesses organically, right? I've been around the block several, years, decades, if you will, working with brands, assuring that they grow organically on social, have those thought leadership conversations, and really get to the heart of what a brand is. So not only is it marketable, but it lasts for a long time and it becomes a household, brand. I eat, breathe, sleep, quite literally, Maggie, social media, and I create third-party content, assure that, again, the thought leaders work on their personas across all the platforms. My claim to fame, or my advice, if starting with me and my team, have at least 3 platforms. The 3 major platforms, today that are currently running, and that may change tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year. But I really do get to the heart of who is a person. We don't want to only sell ourselves, but we want to come off as human, and that's where I come into play. And I really just I love marketing, period. So,
And it is fun. And I get people who tell me, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. I'm like, look, I don't want to do my taxes. I hire
mhm,
somebody. Like, this is what we do. So
correct.
when you're struggling with things, and look, Joseph and I have similar, our paths cross, in our services, but we each learned from the other. And we were having this amazing conversation about AI. And that's our topic today. And I wanted to bring him on to share with you some of the amazing insights that he has. And also, like, we were bantering about how AI is really changing the landscape in just the last 2 years.
Mhm.
So, one of the first things I wanted to ask you about, Joseph, is, look, we talk about AI and everybody immediately thinks what? Chat GPT. Like, that's
Mhm.
all they think about. I was learning
Correct.
AI 40 years ago in college. Okay. It has been around for decades.
For a long
But I
time.
think now it's just, it's here, right? It's more consumable. It's in the forefront now. We use AI all the time on our phones, we in our TVs and our devices in our houses. We don't even realize we're using them, right?
Correct.
So let's talk a little bit about Chat GPT, because I think that is the big guy.
Mhm.
What are some of the let's start with the pros. What are some of the pros for let our audience is primarily business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders in the industry, in their industries. So
Mhm.
let's kind of focus on that.
Sure.
Where do you think the pro of using a tool like Chat GPT would be good for a small business owner?
It's a great starting off point, Maggie, because we as humans created AI. So let's always remember that. Number one, we're in control of this. It's not taking our jobs. It should be a tool that we can utilize to help us actually become more human. So if you put a prompt in, be very specific with your prompt. That's what I do with my team in my business, or even for myself. If I'm writing a cover letter, working on any kind of content creation, this is a jumping off point. Basically, how I see ChatGPT at the very basic pro level is having a brainstorm session with yourself. And you put in a prompt, you think, how can I become more creative? And you don't want to necessarily copy everything ChatGPT says. It's not perfect. It's growing every single day, every single second. But I see the pro as just a jumping off point, kind of like a coloring book. Here are my options creatively, for instance. And then I jump off of there and, input my 12 plus years of experience into that copy or the content or even in Canva and see where that goes from there.
And look, and that even Canva, like, man, they made an update a few years, well, less than a year ago.
They did.
And
Correct.
it was massive when it came to AI, right? We had removing the background, and now there's all these other things. They just released a new update with a whole new look and feel, which is awesome. I ended up being one of the first million people to sign up for it, so I was very happy.
That's amazing.
It happened so fast. I posted about it. I was like 526,000, blah, 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 right? I had posted it, sent it to my painless posting subscribers because I always know before anybody else does. So I email them, let them know, hey, this is going on. And then I created this really cool reel about it, and I published it.
Yeah.
The next morning at 8:00. Now that was 11 o'clock at night. 8:00 in the morning, I get a text from one of my painless posters, and they said they hit 1 million.
Okay.
8 hours.
Okay.
They just 500,000 people. But that being said, when you see these things, jump on them. When at least learn about it. I'm not saying implement it, but when ChatGPT came out, and I'm sure you remember, Joseph, but when it first came out, they were only taking a few people at a time. Not a few, but they were only taking a certain amount of people at a time.
I was just going to say that they were.
Right. And
yeah,
you couldn't get it. Right. And everybody was talking about it. And it made it this, look, I think it was a smart business move, because better to limit it and build your back end and support structure so that it didn't crash. Because if you had opened it up to hundreds and millions of people at once and you didn't have the infrastructure to support it, it would have been crashing every few minutes, and people would have been like, well, this is terrible, right?
With their pitchforks and their torches, and they would have tried to storm the beaches, because you're absolutely right, because it would have crashed and burned. And we actually, I'm grateful that they were strategic in their launch originally.
Yeah, very smart. And look, OpenAI has been around. Like, this is, there's an AI institute, like the AI Marketing Institute, that is out there. I met the CEO of the company, and I talked to him when I was at Social Media Marketing World in San Diego. This guy is like, he's been doing this for years. But because now he's like speaking at the White House, right? He's like all over he's brought in as a consultant because we need help. And look, they're helping people at a way different level than we're helping people.
Sure.
Right? We're just trying to figure it out. One of the things I love, when we had talked about it, you said it's the starting point. And I love the conversation with yourself, right?
It really is.
AI, it's a starting point. It's not the finish line, right?
No.
Somebody had said your ChatGPT is the writer and you're the editor. But I love the fact that I can go to one place. I used to use a thesaurus. How can I say this better? What word can I use? I don't want to use the same word all the time. But it's even more than that. Like, there's video there. I mean, you look at some of this video that's out there, and I sit back and I'm like, is that real? Is it not real? So what are the things that you're seeing platforms do so people, the average consumer, knows whether this is real or not real?
Yeah. So the point, especially in advertising, right? Or let's start even, closer to home. The point of marketing, or even for social media marketing, let's choose Canva, for instance, or even ChatGPT, right? Is to understand it is a marketing tool. It is not do all end all. And it's really important, especially now that there's a new feature, which I'm sure you know, and I want everybody out there in TV land, as I refer to them as, our listeners and our listeners, is that the transparency is also really important. If you're using and utilizing and re-evolving content through AI, Instagram has a new feature where you are not required, but I have a feeling that's coming soon. That's just my 2 cents. You have to, or have an option to check the box that you used a piece of content or shared it with AI to be transparent, just to be more human. And I think that actually adds another layer of transparency and honesty as the marketer or the business owner. But I really would like to say as well, Maggie, that we need to just be human, as we said, the starting off point, and we need to assure that we're transparent. I remember this was a few years ago. I think it was before maybe a football game or a soccer game. Something came out with a large brand that they had utilized AI with Jennifer Lopez, and it wasn't her at all. They took sound bites of her likeness and her body, her movements, her fashion, her voice, and they created this entire AI generated ad based off of the actress and the singer Jennifer Lopez. But they were honest. They kind of poked fun at it. Look what AI can do. It's not scary. It's human. It won't replace, but it can, it can enhance. And that's the future of AI. But I think I can't say this enough, Maggie. Be transparent, because I myself have messed around with Canva, and there are videos on my social media and my LinkedIn and my Instagram where I, didn't necessarily pay to play, just to kind of fool around with what AI can do and how human it can come off as. It comes off beautifully. But I think, again, we have to be as transparent as possible. If we're utilizing it, don't try to trick your customers and consumers or the people who support your business, because they will eventually find out and not be happy.
Right. And look, it's that's one of the cons, right? Sometimes we see things, we're like, oh, you know what? I got looked into thinking this was a real thing. It happens with me all the time with YouTube videos, and I'm like, ooh, Iron Man 4 is coming out. And my
Right.
daughters are like, Mom, that's not real. And I'm like, no,
Right.
you're right. So but that being said, go back to the early days of the internet when people used to say, well, this thing, right? And well, where did you hear that? Well, I heard it on the internet. If it's on the
The
internet, it
internet.
must be true.
Hmm.
No. So
Or chat
do
rooms or the old websites. And I myself, just going back for a moment, I remember, actually using a thesaurus, a physical, or dictionary, how to say things differently, how to wordsmith papers, actually through college, for the most part, because the internet was still pretty new. There
yeah,
wasn't really a Facebook or an Instagram or a Snap or anything of that matter. So you had to rely on a physical piece of,
reference
reference
material.
source, exactly,
Yeah.
to create your content. But we have so many tools, that we can certainly utilize now, that just be sure, I'll say this a million times till the cows come home, you're transparent in your use of AI.
Yep, actually. And I wanted to zoom in on that. Be transparent.
Be transparent. Yeah.
And so I did a presentation. I'm very careful about using like AI generated photos in my
Yes.
social media, right? And
Hmm.
I'm very careful about that. In my presentations, I will use them all the time. And I love the look of it. I have a friend who's a photographer who's very angry at the fact that I do that. But I
Hmm.
tell her, I'm like, look, we have to, and this goes for anybody, you need to one understand it. You need to understand what it does, what its uses are, how you can
Hmm.
utilize it to improve, make your life easier and faster. But number two, you have to embrace the technology. That this is where if your competitors are using this technology and they're getting more traction and they're getting more followers and they're getting
Yeah.
more whatever, this is where we run into trouble, right? Like you will be left in the dust. Think about when, and I was listening to early in my AI research journey in the last 2 years, like this part of my journey.
Mhm.
Um, and someone said, remember when Photoshop came out? And
Yes.
everybody said, this is going to be the end of photography. This is going to be the
Mhm.
end of, real things, right? No, it wasn't. Like the consumer, the business owner, whoever needs to be aware that this could be photoshopped, right? We hear
Sure.
about it all the time. Oh, it's photoshopped, right? But Photoshop was embraced by certain photographers. And what happened? They were able to create, take out the frown lines and take out the eye, your
Mhm.
crow's feet, and brighten up your face and get rid of that, whatever it is on your face, right?
Yep.
These are things, fix the flyaway hair. It made the photo better than what you could capture with the camera.
Correct.
And those people were able to then what, right? Like they got more clients, they got more people that why? Because
Because
their
they
end
embraced. Yep.
they embraced the technology and their end product was better. So look, I get we talk pros and cons. I'm going to say this ad nauseum today, but when we're looking, how can we um so we've got these things like YouTube has initiated it. If it's something that looks real, you
Mhm.
have to say, like, if it's like, God forbid, but like this was the example that was given to me, but it was something like if you see a plane going into the Empire State Building, right, and it looks real, like
Mhm.
you've got to qualify. This was generated by AI, right?
Correct.
But I wanted to bring up one other thing. You are an amazing author, and you can go to Joseph's website and click on the book link to find out about his books.
Thank you.
But here's the thing, like, we create content for people, right? We create content. I have a tool, my painless posting software, it has an AI built into it, right?
Yeah.
But we are using AI for our clients are using AI. They use painless posting. When we
Mhm.
generate content for our clients, we may brainstorm ideas, but we're not using AI to create our content. We're
No.
using AI to brainstorm. So there's
Correct.
different ways you can use AI. But as an author, I'd love your take on people who use AI to create books, to create blog posts, to what is the pro and the con of AI in a publishing world?
Yeah, that's a great question that I don't get asked very often. So the pro, again, is a starting off point because we as humans, again, I will say this to the cows come home, be transparent, be human. And we put the prompt in. As humans, we are so creative. We haven't even unlocked, that much of our brains as humans, even in the great year of 2024. So if we need a little assistance to start off with, give me a prompt or, let allow my juices to start flowing creatively because of a prompt AI will shoot out back at me, for instance, when I have to get a chapter done or when I have to write a blog post for a client, something to get myself in the mood to quite literally be creative and write, to create, to sound maybe a little less naive on a subject that I may not know, right? Again, we're all human. I fully admit that. So the pro is definitely to get the creative juices flowing, get yourself in the mood to write, create some prompts, and even to maybe save yourself full transparency some time in putting a prompt in to create an article with statistics that you may not utilize or find on Google. It will
Yeah.
literally shoot out the updated statistics that you have to, of course, fact check yourself as a journalist, as a
Yeah,
publisher,
let's
as an
let's make
author.
a stress point on that. We're going to zoom in.
Yeah, yeah.
Fact check.
Fact check everything,
Fact
every
check
little
everything.
detail. If you say in a chat GPT situation, give me 3 statistics on why book publishing is so popular and how it's going to become more popular in the next 3 to 5 years. Okay. But you also save time. So the second point is it saves you time in creating and saves you time in actually fact checking. So you can spend more time on the creative aspect, right? Number two. So those are the pros. The cons, if you don't fact check and you submit something to a client or you post on your LinkedIn where people are actually looking, where there are potential clients and a lot of money left on the table, potentially people will possibly see right through it. And if you don't add the human element, re-edit, re-evolve the content that was shot out to you, fact check, fact check, fact check, right?
Yep.
And assure that you actually come off as human. That's one of the major cons in book publishing, in writing articles, writing content. And I myself, full transparency for my students, I mean, my clients, I start off with a Chat GPT prompt. And then I go in and I re-edit with my 12 plus years experience in publishing and editorial as well to make sure that it sounds like myself mirrored through the client at the same time.
No, I love that. And I think when, because when ChatGPT first came out,
Mhm.
people who knew how to use like the Kindle publishing thing, they were creating, we were putting it out there. Like the worst thing, your reputation, like I tell people, your brand and your reputation are the most valuable thing in your business.
Yeah.
And if you mar that trust with your audience,
Mhm.
you are doing it. Look, you could do 1,000 amazing things. You do one wrong thing,
You'll ruin
you've
that
seen
rep
it.
in a matter
You've
of
seen it
seconds.
happen. You've seen it happen in the entertainment industry. You've seen it countless times in the
Mhm.
political realm, right?
Yeah.
We have seen this, um, you know, uh, um, kind of like the cautionary tale. Be careful, because if ChatGPT is writing your finished product, it's not you.
It's
It's
not
Chat.
you.
No matter how many gazillion prompts you give it, it's
The
not you.
prompt exactly may be you, right? But we don't want to be deceitful in our use of ChatGPT or AI. And
Yep.
another point, especially in writing, and thank you so much for bringing this up. I have, I wear many hats as a
Yes.
marketing maven, as J Federico Marketing, wherever that brand is going in the future. And it should be evolved, right? No matter what kind of business owner you are or products you sell. But with my writing, I actually never utilize AI for my books because that is my heart and soul. Yeah, I create the characters. I may use it for social media to promote a forthcoming book, right? Or a part of my anthology or my trilogy or even my book cover. But social media now is prompting creators to be transparent, not be deceitful, and say, yes, I created this, but it's made with AI. And also, there was a movie that came out recently that utilized literally maybe 1/100th of their final product. It was Late Night with the Devil, I believe, was a movie that was just released. And it takes place in the 70s. And one of their pieces of content, throughout the late night television show, world of the 1970s was actually created with AI. And they were transparent about this. People were in uproar. Their hands were, they were just complaining. And it wasn't even a piece of the product. It wasn't a piece of the film. It was literally created probably in Canva. It was a Happy Halloween poster created by AI. And they were transparent about the use of it. And people were in uproar, Maggie, about how dare you be so deceitful, so forth and so on. I think that's great. If you can't tell where this is coming from or what part of a movie or film or book is really created by AI, then utilize it. If it enhances your final product, then I would say then you have the green light to use it as you
Well,
see fit.
remember Forrest Gump? Do you remember when he went to the press? I think it was Lyndon Johnson. Don't
Mhm.
don't quote me on that, but
I believe
it
so.
was they took who it was actual footage, and they replaced Tom Hanks' head with whoever the guy's head
Yes.
was, right?
Mhm.
This is nobody was upset with that,
No, no,
but
because it looked historically accurate as well. That's
it
part of the
does.
reason.
And one of the things that there are a lot of tools that are out there, and one of the things that I love to share are tools that work for me.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be full transparency. I'm going to share with you my um, my website that I have a tools page on.
Mhm.
And what I do on this page is share the tools that I've either used or I find have been helpful for me or my clients.
Sure.
So when I go to, and I'll just share my screen here for a little blip. Can you see that? I don't even know, like, because
Yeah,
I
it just
lost our
popped up.
video. Yeah. So here is, of course, my top products, painless posting here, but down here, Hey Jen is a way that you can have an AI spokesperson.
Hmm.
Really freaky. You could record yourself and it will talk as you. It will sync you, and it will also do things like eye rolls, hand gestures, and translate you into a different language.
Right.
Now, reminder, it may not translate it properly, so keep that in mind. Another one I love is this Opus Clip because it could take your long form video and chop it up into small bits and pieces.
Hmm.
And then Descript is another one of my really favorites because Descript will allow you to edit based on it will translate. Like if I take this video and I put it into Descript, it will put our words in there. And if we
Yeah.
do a flub or maybe it's too long and we want to cut something out, I can go in there and just edit by taking the text out instead
Hmm.
of the video. And it
Right.
takes the text and it takes the video. And of course, Otter transcribes, another really good one. So when we're looking at things like this, um, we have to take in mind that this is not always, it's not all about Chat GPT, right?
No,
What
no.
are there any tools or tips or things that you would say outside of the Chat GPT that, other than painless posting, which is amazing, that
Sure.
has AI built into it? A lot of these tools are using, in services and things like that that you see have an AI component. Some of
Hmm.
them are built on Chat GPT, but they take it to the next level.
They
Is
are.
there anything that you've used that you found really helpful?
To be perfectly honest, I like to go back to basics, especially
Yeah.
with nostalgia marketing, content creation, organic, human, human, human. Canva is my go-to number one for prompts for creativity, but I believe and it changed names a couple of times. It's called like My Magic or Magic something in AI, an app
Yes.
through Canva that is one of the most important, in my opinion, tools you can utilize again to get those creative juices flowing. And I utilize that. Actually, my one of my associates had introduced me to that about a year ago, last summer, and I utilize that all the time. I go in
Yeah.
there and I just can play for hours looking for a possible book cover or create a character that I have in my head. And I put all these prompts in. And then sometimes there are, I like to call them controls that they may not produce something because it, may, come off as too adult or too human. And they actually have blockades or blocks in there in which you can't create everything. And I actually think that's positive
Yeah.
because then the sky really is a limit and there's no going back. And then you lose that human element. So I would definitely say utilize Canva with that because it's a really beautiful tool, to be honest, Maggie. So
I really love it, and it was the foundation of my business. I've been using it for over 9 years now. I
mhm.
had used it for I had done some work at a dance studio. We were using Canva for flyers. So this is before they even had video. Now, forget about AI. You only had like a certain amount of things, to choose from. Now the templates are amazing. Look, it's very low cost to get Canva. If you use it, even at its basic features,
Mhm.
you will definitely, find value in it. And of course,
Correct.
always make sure you pop over to my YouTube channel because I have, not you, Joseph, because you know how to use this, but for our listeners, pop over to the YouTube channel and search for Canva. And you'll find I have a number of ones that actually videos that share how to use Chat GPT
Sure.
and an Excel or a Google Sheet and Canva to do this import where it creates, like, say you do Motivational Mondays,
Mhm.
right? Great way to create this content. You can do a bulk create in Canva and it
Mhm.
will create, 50 posts in 5 minutes. Like,
It
it's
will.
insane. It really is very powerful. And I look, as business owners, we have to find ways to be present on social media, but also to find those shortcuts to speed up the process. Because let's be honest with this. My goal is to simplify the social media process, right?
Mhm.
That's my
Absolutely.
tagline: simplify social media. When you do that, you have more time to do the thing you love. What is your business? I don't care if you're an accountant. I don't care if you're a health and wellness coach. I don't
Mhm.
care if you sell widgets on the side of the road. But whatever you do, you want to do that. You don't want to be spending time creating social media unless you're
No.
crazy people like Joseph and I who love to create social media content. So now that we've, kind of said all that, I think that, when you're using it's a tool like anything else, like a pen or a piece of paper or your stapler, whatever it is that has a function. Use it to the best of your ability. Learn how to use it properly. If you don't know how to use it properly, find out.
Sure.
There are tons of classes and, again, go to a reputable site. I always say this: I build my YouTube channel, it builds on trust. I have followers. Joseph, is a resource for you. He's on LinkedIn all the time. Reach out to people who know what they're talking about, because there are people out there who've taken a course and think that they can teach how to use these things. Look, I've
Sure.
got 40 years in IT. Okay. Let me tell you something. I was recently at helping a client. I went to their site. They were local. So I went to their physical site and they had their phone and they had their Facebook for 6 months. They couldn't figure out how to connect this one thing to post on social media.
Mhm.
5 minutes,
And they're
Joseph,
done
it took me to fix it.
that.
5 minutes, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is a story you will hear over and over again.
Mhm.
For those of you who people tell you your rates are too high, consider the fact that your rate is a part of all of those years of experience that you're bringing. You're not charging by the hour. You are charging for the decades of experience, even if it's
Mhm.
years, months, whatever it is that you're bringing in to that 1 hour. Because Joseph can solve that problem in 5 minutes. I can solve that problem in 5 minutes. And if we don't know, guess what? We know each other. So if I don't know it, Joseph knows it.
Exactly. And then we consult as professionals and thought leaders to solve the problem faster
That's
than
it.
if we were by ourselves. Absolutely.
Yeah. And this is where, we talk about, look, make sure you are very cautious about what you're finding online. We talk about the pros and cons of the AI that's out there.
Yeah.
Be cautious about what you're consuming. Be an educated consumer. It's the bottom line, right? Like, be an educated consumer, be an educated business owner. You do not want to be putting something out there that doesn't reflect your authenticity.
No.
One thing that I want to share before I forget, because I've meant to say this, because you've brought up, you've been very adjacent to this topic, and I want to make sure I say it. A lot of times, I have people tell me, "How do I combat the fake looking
Yes.
it right?" And I
Content.
tell them, the easiest way to do that, what we're doing now:
Mhm.
grab your phone, talk to it. And here's my biggest tip: when you're talking to your phone and recording, obviously, talk to it like it was your favorite client or your
Yes.
best client. If you had a million
Yes.
of these people, you'd be set for life.
Mhm.
When Think about it, when you talk to one person, like we are giving a feel of talking to each other, right? When you have that conversation, like my background in theater will tell you, right?
Mhm.
When I'm talking to you is very different when I'm standing in front of a room of people and I am presenting a topic.
Mhm. Exactly. Same here.
So, how are there any tips that you have for our listeners to um, kind of say, how can you remain authentic in an inauthentic world?
Yeah, great question. Again, not really asked that often, but as an authenticity coach, right? For getting on reels and social media, and I can speak about this for hours. We have to have another conversation, but literally just start. I've been practicing that and preaching that for over 5 years, especially now in a post-COVID world. things have changed. We see all these nostalgic, marketing campaigns coming out. Even, for instance, Burger King with their new AI Whopper, campaigns. But how do we even combat that? Just by being human, picking up our phones, as I'm doing, as almost like we're doing right now, or I'll probably do afterwards to wrap up. I'm so excited about the show. Be human. In a post-COVID world, COVID put everything on its head, Maggie, and everybody out there in TV land, right? And people are now looking to be coddled, looking to connect with other humans, right? Looking for the trust again, looking to connect with their tribe because of utilizing platforms like Instagram and other platforms across social media. Just start. If you say and oohs and ahs and stutter, I'll tell you, that's one of the best ways you can connect and combat the artificial part of social media. Just be human. And also, but follow the trends. Look to somebody like Maggie or myself, where, it may be a long form piece of content that's better suited for your audience. Maybe a short form. Utilize stories on Instagram, where they only last one day, but you can see behind the scenes. What are you cooking? What are you eating? Explain to your audience why you can be trusted. And that's how you build your tribe outward from that point going forward.
Right. And what I found a lot is our whole kind of like the communication. We see the miss in the connection between people.
We do. Yeah.
And I worry about, sometimes I worry about, oh gosh, are they connecting? Are they making this, how are they building relationships? Right. But we also see, like, I'll say to my kids, don't you want to go out? Like, my kids are in their 20s at the recording of this video. And I'm like, don't you want to go out? Don't you want to meet people? Don't you want to have a conversation? And they're like, I am meeting people. I'm online. We're doing Dungeons and Dragons, or we're watching a movie.
Yeah.
They're watching a movie together on their computer.
On the internet.
Right? On the internet, right? These are, and then they decompose the movie, right? Like, they talk about the movie and they have,
right.
So they are communicating. It's a different way. It's certainly different than what our parents' generation was. When they grew up in a world where there wasn't, this, amazing thing called the internet. And I think we're all learning how to evolve as the technology evolves. And I hate to say this, but I'm gonna tell you, and this is for the person who says to me, Maggie, I don't want to be on social media. I don't want to be online. I don't want my face
online. On video. Mm-hmm.
Be very, there are some industries that say, okay, I get it, right? But for the most part, if you're not on social media, you are going to have a very hard time selling your business. And
Correct.
If you aren't front facing in your social media, you are going to have a very hard time building trust.
Mm-hmm.
So, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. We have heard this. It's been a mantra for before there was the internet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you building your trust factor? How are you building your base? And I'm afraid, Joseph, for these people who are hesitant. And I understand. I'm a theater person. You give me a stage, you give me a mic, you give me a camera. I'm like, that same photographer hates me because when she goes to take a picture, I'm like, what is the pose,
exactly.
Right? So it's easy for me. It's easier for me to do that kind of a thing, right?
Same here. Yeah.
But I've been trained. Like, I didn't just, one day I just posed for a camera, or I came up with dialogue. Like,
and you nailed it the first time. It takes practice.
I've made so many mistakes. Look, if you're afraid to make mistakes, go work a 9-to-5 job.
Yep.
Don't start your own business, because I've learned more from all the mistakes, and look, costly mistakes as well.
Same here.
I've learned more. Have you, for the person or the people who are afraid to be front facing on their social, or who are afraid to be on social media, because there's a true fear, and I get it.
There's a true fear.
Do you have any suggestions for them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a very simple mantra of mine. Practice makes progress. I'll tell you something really quickly, again, out there in TV land. before COVID really hit, right? Feb 2020. And I heard of this thing called IGTV, for instance, right? Now it's Reels and Stories on Instagram. But you had the opportunity to create your own channel, your own television show. And I have experience, of course, working for MSNBC and Verizon and having my own shows and podcasts in the past. But when you overthink it, you can very easily fake yourself out and get nervous, right? So what did I do? I forced myself to get on camera. I literally took my camera. I used to write scripts and write bullet points for myself. And I sounded very, very methodic, very robotic. But the increase in followership and my metrics alone, because I never, up to this day, and I never will teach anything unless I try it out first. Does it work?
Okay.
How do I break it down? How do I evolve it in order to coach and sell, but help people evolve their own businesses and to get comfortable on camera, for instance? My followership and metrics grew 600% in less than 6 days by getting on camera. And it was terrible, but I was human. I spoke about my experience in marketing. Yeah, I swear. Yeah.
Okay. Y'all want to laugh? Go back about to 2021 when I started doing my YouTube channel. Look at some of my old videos and you'll be like, I had this really bad green screen and my hair was coming in and out of focus. My sound was terrible. At one point, I think one of my kids walked behind the screen. At one point, I had the cat sitting on my bookshelf.
Yeah.
Like, look, it is what it is, and you just got to go with it. And I think a lot of what we're dealing with today is that, look, adults get bullied. Okay. But there's somebody out there that, and this is the best advice I can give anybody who's hesitant to do this. There is somebody out there that needs your help. They need to hear what you have to say.
Correct.
You could change someone's life. And I don't say that lightly. Like,
no, not whatsoever. No.
Right? Like, there are people out there who are struggling, whose livelihood may depend on something that you have to say. So when you look at it that way, the fact that, you may be having a bad hair day may not be a big deal. So go out there, try something new, be brave, take the leap, embrace AI, do what you need to do to build your business. You are needed. So
you are needed.
I just want to thank you, Joseph, for being here and sharing your wealth of knowledge. And I want to give you an opportunity. Is there any last little tidbit of information or any words of wisdom you'd like to share with our audience today?
Absolutely. Again, just going back to being human, there's only one of you, right? There's only one unique version of you and the stories in which you can tell. And as Maggie said, to her point, people will want to listen, even though you feel maybe nobody's looking at your reels or your content. They are behind the scenes, and you will change lives through what you're doing by being uniquely you.
I love that. That's a great way to end. I just want to make sure you reach out. You know how to reach out to Joseph. You can find his website here. As I mentioned, he's got a book page that tells you about all of his books. He's on Instagram. Please go over, show him some love. Look, this helps you. Like his posts, comment on his posts. It helps you. It helps him. You learn something new. Everybody wins. The algorithm will bless you. Here is his contact information, a phone number. If you want to talk to him in person and have a one-on-one conversation, that is the man to talk to. Of course, here at Master It Media, you can find us at Master It Media. We're on every social media platform, major one anyway, at Master It Media, including our YouTube channel. And of course, our painless posting software will allow you to cut your social media content creation time in half. So I want to thank you, Joseph, for being here and sharing your insights. For all of you listening, thank you for listening. And make sure if you have any questions, we're going to be monitoring the comments. So make sure you leave any burning questions that you have, and Joseph and I will be happy to answer them. Reach out if you need any help, because we are here to help you take the commotion out of your promotion.
Love
Have
it.
a fabulous day, y'all. Joseph,
Thank you
see
so
you on
much.
the flip side.